In this episode.
So, well, how can people get in touch with us, man, while we're getting ready? So they can do this while we're getting ready. They can go and they can check out ways that they can connect with the show.
Who cares? Why bother? They're not gonna.
Yeah. Screw all you people. Look at what you've done to Chad.
Yeah, if we could get one email that says, I hate your show, that'd be awesome.
Welcome. You're listening to PaleoCheeze Podcast, episode 35, part 1, Alien Abductions.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Jeremiah Bannister.
Did you say
and you're
it?
Chad Lutzke.
Yes,
I just said it.
All I heard was
what? No.
Yeah, I am Chad Lutzke.
Yeah. I'll say it again in case the audio is all messed up, dude. I'll say it again.
That's fine. Right. We'll keep it.
Well, I don't know if the audio is bad. It's bad. That'd be terrible.
That's all right.
So
it makes for an entertaining intro.
Why not? Yeah.
Are we part of a network?
Yeah. Yes, we're part of a network of people who probably don't make such terrible mistakes. Yeah, you're listening to PaleoCheeze Podcast, part of the Project Entertainment Network. And Chad, dude, it's been a long time.
It has. You said it's been since, I guess, March. Here we are, May 7th.
Yeah.
And we had a unexpected hiatus. For very good reason. If you want to share a little bit.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, we weren't just being lazy, right? I was scrambling in my head, like thinking of a way that I could throw you under the bus, Chad, and like blame you as a comedic joke. But it's not true. And it's not comedic. It's actually a serious thing. Back in March, the week of my birthday, my mother-in-law and brother-in-law, they were in a car in Battle Creek and they got in a car accident. And my brother-in-law died. And my mother-in-law was in a coma for, I don't know, like 3 weeks before she opened her eyes. And she's responding a little bit. It's inconsistent, but it's severe. And so the brain surgery was really critical. They had to do it quickly. And the therapy has not even begun because she wasn't responsive. And so we have a lot of things in the future that we got to deal with. We're dealing with tons of stuff we've been dealing with ever since that day, and especially my wife. And so huge applause for her because of what she's going through. This is her only sibling, and her dad's really hasn't been part of the picture for a very long time. So this is kind of like a Saving Private Ryan kind of moment. And there's a lot of big decisions ahead. And so we weren't able to do the show, right? There was just no way. And I wasn't in a headspace. Chad can attest to it. I was not in a headspace for this. But it's kind of like, trauma and everything like that. It kind of has phases, right? And so dealing with any tragedy like this. In fact, if you want to hear how people deal with tragedy, you can listen to our last very somber episode that we did. Chad's fault. It's your fault, Chad. I got to say this, man. People should go back for real, because you talked in the episode about just how terrible it is and how you loathe accidents, freak things out of the blue, right? Yeah. And within a matter of like a week, this happened, and I'm having a good time online. I'm responding to people, right? Having a blast. And then, Jeremiah, we got to go. Why? My mom was in an accident, choppered to a hospital. I'm like, what? And so it's, it was weird how that happened. It was a little bit of preparation, I mean, to be really honest about that, like that conversation and hearing the way you talk about these things and stuff like that helped. But I wasn't in a headspace, but I am now. And so I said, let's do it. Let's get back together. I wasn't sure, man. I was like, is Chad going to want to? And when I mentioned it, you're like, yes. like, dude, we need to get back. And so
I also, we talked weeks ago about how, and I know you, and I knew that you didn't want to just wallow. I knew at one point, even if you weren't ready, that you would probably want to, just to get your head out of the tedium of grief, for a little bit of escape, so that you could maybe have something to laugh at for a bit and have some normalcy. So
yeah, just normal life, dude. I mean, it's because it's a sorrowful sphere, man. It just is. You get in this bubble where every day everything is the same thing. And dude, it's only just begun. I mean, she's probably gonna live at our house. And well, it's a possibility if we can accommodate that, which it may be too severe or just too difficult and even problematic. We got a bunch of kids. And so these are just really difficult things we got to deal with. And even funeral, we still haven't had the memorial because of restrictions and stuff like that. And so we're limited on that. It was just the things to think about. But yeah, you're right. After a while, you get to a place where you just go, look, I may not be 100% back, but I have to go back because the world keeps going. You can look out the window and see the world's still kicking it.
Yeah.
Life is happening. The sun's out, the moon's out. And so you got your cycle and season all changing and stuff. And it's like, real life is going on outside this bubble. And I said, it's crazy, how disconnected you can get. And I said, I can't do it anymore. And so, and you figured out a really cool way, man, to get me back in the groove, dude. We're not only going to talk about some stuff here, but we're actually going to watch a movie, man.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to watch a movie that we've been teasing that we were going to watch for almost a year.
Yeah,
really.
Yes,
it was one of the first ones that we were toying around with the idea of watching. Before even.
I think it was the first. Yeah, or it was the second. I think Killer Sofa was first.
Yeah,
maybe, but I know it was first sequentially. But I know that that when we talked about Were Rooster, we had to decide between those. And at this point, dude, I wish I would have watched what we're gonna watch now. So
yeah, we are gonna watch Velocipaster. I don't see anybody talking about it. I know it's gonna be bad. The poster and even the tagline, which I can't remember offhand, I remember made me laugh out loud. But I mean, Velocipaster, that's just hilarious. But I do have. We never got a chance to. I know I talked about it, but I don't think I showed it. Late March, I can't remember what it was. I put out. I don't think I had a copy of this at the time, but I put out my novella Slow Burn on Riverside. It's been getting some really nice reviews. I will read the back synopsis real quick. Taking my mind for granted became my biggest regret. When 18-year-old Jex moves into a new apartment, his roommate's descent into drugs paves the way for mental illness, while Jex deals with their sexually assertive landlady. But when her teenage son shows up, things take a very dark turn.
Jex.
I've
heard that name before.
Well, this is a prequel to The Same Deep Water as You, which I know you haven't read.
Yeah.
But this happens before. But they're both standalones. You don't need to. You can read them out, whatever order you want to. But I'm really proud of it. It's not horror. It is I guess you'd call it a thrilling drama. A psychological thriller, actually, is what it is. Yeah, I'm proud of it. And I told you yesterday that I just signed a ghostwriting contract with the company.
We'll never know, so we just got to take your word for it.
Yeah, you'll never know.
We'll never know. Like, what book is it? You're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Not sure. Yeah,
but I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm a little scared because I've got my plate so full right now with writing projects and deadlines approaching and collaborations, and then all of a sudden I've got to write novels for somebody else that will take the credit for it. But that's okay.
Yeah, how does that feel, dude? I mean, I've never done ghostwriting before, and so yes, I did. I did ghostwriting for an op-ed that gained a lot of traction under somebody else's name, and it even had their picture on it. Yeah. And it broke my heart because I'm like, nice person, but can't write like that. That's me, man. That's my writing. And I would try to tell people, I'm like, well, who's this person's name? I'm like, screw you, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I wrote that. Isn't it obvious?
I was talking to our buddy Armand Rosamilia,
Yeah.
also from Project Entertainment Network, with the Mondo Method and the Dead Sexy Armcast podcast.
And he's kind of like not just with it, like he's like the big dog.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's the
he's the
CEO, if you will.
Yeah. He's the, exactly. He's the big daddy of the whole thing. Yeah.
Yes. But he's done his fair share of ghostwriting. So last year when I was toying around with the idea of this, I talked to him, and then I talked to him again recently, and he had mentioned, I said, I don't even know if when you write something, if you're aware of what happens to the book. Like, is it kept a secret? Like, you will never know the author, you'll never know the title, and so it's just out there being sold. I told him, I was like, for my ego sake, I would love to be able to put it on this big shelf I have of everything I've written, with probably the spine facing inward. So, I would never tell anybody,
Right.
but but he's like, if ghostwriting is definitely not good for your ego. I mean, it's not, and I use that word because I know Armand's got a huge ego, and it's stuff like that is very important to him as well.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know. I can't tell you what it's like.
I mean, it's your craft. It's
Right,
your
but I
own.
haven't-
It's your
I haven't
own.
done it yet,
art
so
form
I
and
don't,
stuff.
I don't have any experience under my belt. I've never written anything before where someone else took credit, so
That'd be hard, man. And I have to say this, man. Chad puts a lot into what he does. Like, people may not understand like how much he puts in. And even to the authenticity of what he does. He puts so much into it. He recently, I don't know how much he spent, but it had to be enormous amounts of money to pay an actress to pretend to be this supposed sister that did a book review of a book for him. I'm like, oh, Ray Sean, yeah, right. There is no Ray Sean. So, totally fake. No, for real, that was just a terrible segue to say that, he really does have a sister. and a punch to my own ego and to kind of knock it down and say, wow, okay, so he does have a sister. Ray Sean, it's for real.
And for those who don't know, he is referring to the time that I blew his mind when I mentioned a sister and brother that I have that he was not aware of.
I didn't believe you. I didn't believe when you said Ray Sean. I'm like, you're right. Dude, you're lying.
No, I said Rashane.
Rashane. That's okay. Rashane.
And then I was like, it's not Ray Sean, because you thought it was like
I still think it's
like
Ray
I had
Sean.
Yeah.
Rashane. Okay, Rashane. I'm so sorry. And to the sister, because she's real, so I need to apologize, Rashane. I am so sorry that I've been calling you Rashawn. but either way, but a real person, and so I know that's kind of a forced situation, but dude, it was so hilarious to see it. I've never seen her ever. And so it's to see that and to hear her talk about you, man. And to talk about how you're right. I just thought it was really, really special, really cool.
Yeah, me too, because I never get to see her. She doesn't live in Michigan, and she's a school teacher.
Yeah.
A little bit down south. So, we don't get to see each other ever or anything. So it was nice that I think I mentioned before, not all of my friends and family have read my stuff, and that's okay. But when somebody just out of the blue does like that, it's pretty special.
Did she let you know that she was going to make the video?
No.
Dude, that's so cool.
I had no idea.
Rashane, you're awesome.
I thought of you.
You're awesome. You're not only not fake, you're awesome. So, yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So, and another announcement, and I'm going to say this. I don't even know if I mentioned this to you. I think I did very briefly the other day when we talked, but because I mentioned all these writing projects that I've got going on, short stories that are due from invites to anthologies, and of course I got my Patreon page, and my patrons are incredibly awesome, and so I I gotta keep feeding the piranha there, and giving them content. But I'm writing a book, and I'm only bringing this up because he spilled it in the middle of an episode of The Final Guys. But I'm writing a book with Hunter Shea, and the main reason why I'm bringing that up is because I started writing a book. I started reading a book in kind of preparation, research, if you will, for what we are writing. I'm super excited about it. Hunter's a great author, incredibly nice guy. Love that guy. Love all those guys, all those Final Guys. They treat me like family over there, and so this is pretty cool. This is pretty special to be able to write with him. But the book I'm reading right now, and I may have brought this up in an episode in the past and talked a little bit about it, but now I'm actually reading. I'm a little more than halfway through. It's called Communion by Whitley Strieber. Do you know anything about this book?
No, and I probably would have remembered if you said communion. I have a pretty impeccable memory, but
it's
I don't
a New York
recall
Times
that one.
bestseller that came out in the 80s, like maybe 87. And he claims it's a true story. And it's about him being abducted and stuff. And to this day, this came out in the 80s. And before that, he was a horror writer. They made a couple movies out of some of his books, like Wolfen and The Hunger. David Bowie was in that. I think he wrote that one. And so he was just like this other Stephen King dude. And then all of a sudden this stuff happens, and he never goes back to all his books now, or just like his obsession with this thing that happened to him. 35 years later, he's still saying, yeah, man, this freaking happened to me. I was traumatized. Books don't really creep me out. Most movies don't either. But this book, has some unsettling stuff in it. To think that, I'm not reading it as pure fact,
Yeah.
I'm reading it with a skeptic's eye, but I'm also reading it as, agnostically, I guess.
Yeah. I have a friend who's really excited about the upcoming. I guess the government is supposed to say an official statement regarding a number of videos that have recently
videos, because I know they've been putting them out, videos that they've had for a while.
They've come out with more statements too. That there was a fleet, which I knew, because you can hear the pilot say it. You can hear him say that there's a whole bunch of them. It's not just one. In the video you only see one, but you hear the person speaking. So that wasn't like a revelation, right?
Yeah.
But they've recently been coming out in the build up to this, talking about, and I'm pretty skeptical about it, about the government and the way that the government will respond to these things. I think it will be a lot of legalese, and it will be ambiguous language, We can neither confirm nor deny for whatever reason, blah, blah, jargon. And so I think you're going to have a lot of that. And so I'm not crossing my fingers and saying, oh, and plus deadlines aren't deadlines, man, the government. So I'm kind of I remember people being excited about JFK releases and stuff back just a couple years ago. And I predicted that in the lead up, even days ahead of time, that the government would request that they get an extension and that it be hidden for a very long time. And I think it was the very day that it was supposed to be released. Everybody's waiting, pins and needles. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I don't care. Well, it's almost about to happen. I'm like, doesn't matter. Next thing you know, boom, we're not revealing them because they've said that it would diminish the respect and the trustworthiness of the institution. I'm like, well, obviously, of course. Yeah. Well, isn't that kind of an admission? All right, well, they obviously were involved in some way, and so I don't know what I'm kind of a agnostic on that too. I'm not an outright disbelief of that. I think statistically, with as many galaxies and planets and planets within the Goldilocks zone that we've got, I think it's not only possible, but in some ways statistically, maybe even probable that there is life elsewhere. But life is a big term. And so the idea that, well, there's advanced life that's made it, through radiation belts around our planet and light years away and all of this stuff that's gone on. I'm skeptical of that. In a way, maybe it's for fear to say, look, if that is real, then I mean, they're essentially like God to us. I mean, they would be so advanced that it would be like those tribes coming in contact for the first time with civilization and realizing that, oh my gosh, so there's like cars and these things called TVs and smartphones and radiation. There's galaxies and spaceships. And I mean, it would be so mind blowing that I think it would be a mass extinction event for the same reason we don't go to a lot of those tribes and stuff. Anthropologists, they recognize the dangers in doing that. Because you'd see a mass extinction of that tribe. I mean, it did massive suicide. And I said, so I'm skeptical of even them coming out about it for reasons like that.
Plus,
you're
terrified of being abducted.
Yes,
you've told me that thought terrifies you.
Yeah, being abducted, dude, and getting anal probed or something. I don't know, like no way, dude. I've already been anal probed, man. I've already been anal probed, and I was abducted by Dr. Wang in basic training in the Navy, and she had one of those anal eyes. That's way too much information, but it's true.
You're saying you were probed by Wang?
Dr. Wang. Dr. Wang. Straight up, dude. Okay, I gotta say it. I'm in too deep, Chad. I was marching and I felt like a burning in the butt crack, dude. Right? Where it was like it hurt. I'm like, man, I'm like, marching sucks. So I'm like, I gotta go to the doctor. What's going on with me? Did I chapped crack or something? So I go, it's winter time. I don't know. So I go to the hospital and they're like, well, we think you got hemorrhoids. And so I'd never had them before. So they lay me down on this bed and this doctor comes in, Dr. Wang, beautiful lady, Asian man comes in and she's all telling me to get over in a fetal position. And I'm well, okay. So I pull my pants down. She's like, little pressure. And I'm like, what? I turn around. I'm like, no. And she's like, oh, little pressure. And dude, she shows me this thing. And for no better choice of terms, dude, it looks like a freaking dildo. I mean, it's like long, it's plastic. It's not plastic, but it's clear. And you can pull the center out and it's just a cylinder, right? It's a tube. And so you can flash a light in there and you can see how deep anything goes inside. Dude, this thing is, talking thick, bro. Major girth on that thing. And I'm like, no. And I try to turn around. She brings in these like mega buff assistant dudes that are like holding me down. And I'm begging, bro. I'm like, no, please. And dude, she just a little pressure, shoves it right up. When a cat yawns or like a rattlesnake eats a big animal in their mouth, it gets so big you can see like everything. That's basically what I was like. I was when that thing went in, and she's showing them. She's like, "Oh, little grapes. It looks like little grapes." And I'm saying I can't breathe, dude. My mouth is like wide open. I'm like crying, And she pulls it out, bro. 3 times, dude. 3 times. I had to go back twice for reeval. The second time I thought it was over. And then they call me back under some weird pretense of some other thing. And I get there and it's Dr. Wang again. I'm like, no. And dude, she comes in. It's like all she does. I don't know. But I've totally been probed. It was not awesome. I was the laughing stock of all the dudes in my division. It was a terrible experience. And so if I was abducted by aliens on some crazy spaceship, dude, in this crazy world, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and they bend me over and do that, bro, that's like hell, man. I can't. Yeah. It would be like multiple levels of wickedness.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. I wanted to read part of this. It's an understatement, I guess.
Well, it doesn't sound fun. I mean, yeah, a couple drinks or a steak.
I wouldn't want to get feline jaw ass. Whatever your that whatever happened to you there.
So you got to read this thing, man. I'm sorry, I didn't even realize, man. I'm so sorry. We did not even read what you wanted to read.
Yeah, well, there's just that thing in here. He had a couple theories because he's trying to figure out what happened. What is this? And he's doing what he can to, he was a skeptic before this. He had no belief in any of this kind of stuff. and he's trying to put the pieces together. And am I going crazy? Am I hallucinating? Am I having some weird recall that isn't real? He ended up going under hypnosis and made sure that they didn't lead him in their questioning, and he says another thought was that the visitors might really be our own dead. Maybe we were a larval form, and the adults of our species were as incomprehensible to us, as totally unimaginable as the butterfly must be to the caterpillar. Perhaps the dead had been having their own technological revolution and were learning to break through the limits of their born. I thought that was really interesting. And then he says, or perhaps something very, very real had emerged from our own subconscious mind, taking actual physical form and continuing forth to haunt us. Maybe belief creates its own reality. But yeah, I thought those were
fascinating
the dead.
Yes. Dude.
Yeah, and the fact that he uses the analysis of the metamorphosis of caterpillar to butterfly, and how one is not aware of the other. It's pretty scary, and it has me thinking of just I don't know. Then this guy starts to find out that he's that this has been going on longer than he knew, and like being visited and stuff. And so it's like, and then I started to, I don't know if I talked about this on the show, but when I was like between the ages of like maybe 10 and 14, I saw something in the sky that I just chalked it off as whatever, just something that I personally didn't know what it was, but it was an aircraft that obviously I'm not privy to. Like I had a friend who built planes, and he had plane posters on his on jets, and he'd be like, oh, that's a whatever, and he'd say what type of engine, real nerd about that stuff. I wasn't interested. My walls were Ozzy and Kiss and stuff. I wasn't interested in any of that kind of stuff, so I just assumed that it was something that I just didn't know existed. But the more that I think about it as I get older, I wish, and the problem with my memory of what I saw is that I didn't tell the story enough to recall it that well. Like I just didn't tell anybody about it. And then I think about Elijah is like 25 now. So when he was like 13, he was really into this UFO, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster thing, like a lot of boys get into,
Yeah.
It's just fascinating for a while, and then they get out of it. Well, he had these books, and he was studying this stuff, and he's like, Dad, have you ever seen a UFO? I was like, well, I don't think so, but I did see this thing. And Elijah pulls out a notebook, and he's like taking notes of everything that I'm saying. And I think he even may have recorded. He had this little mini recorder. He was like going full blown, like,
investigative guy.
Investigative. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so cute. So cute. And he, so I told him the story, and I think that may be the very first time I ever told him. It was a little shady. And then I never talked about it again until I was either talking to Hunter, because we had a Skype call. I think I was talking to him about it, or my wife recently, and it was still a little, but it wasn't a saucer. It was like I remember there being like like 3 of them, whether they were like in like a teardrop kind of pyramid shape together, and they were either, I don't know if it was one thing flying or 3 things flying. And it wasn't like Thunderbirds. It wasn't anything like that. These were kind of like, not white in color, but sort of, against the blue sky. More like almost like a, not really transparent. I don't know. I had like a pearlesque type of color. And they either, the 3 of them formed a triangle, or the whole thing was a triangle, and I could see like the 3 teardrop shapes of whatever this thing was. And the way that it was flying wasn't flying like geese would fly. It wasn't flying with the point facing this way. It was flying like at another strange angle. There was no sound, and it was way up high. It was way up in the distance. But I just like, oh, I've never seen that before. There was no trail. And like I said, there's no, Battle Creek, we get those stupid Thunderbird jets flying all over in
Well, and you're at an army base.
4th of July. Or
you got an army base there.
This is when I lived in Sorosco.
Okay, yeah.
Where I live now, dude.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that the vicinity is of that area.
Yeah, anyway. Fort Custer. Yeah, but I live.
Yeah.
I lived on the edge of Marshall, and the army base is, far west on the edge of Augusta and Battle Creek.
Yeah,
but yeah. So anyway, could have been anything. No idea. But I have never gone around and said, yeah, I think I saw a UFO. I mean, I don't know. I know people who claim to, and I can imagine if you've seen something like that, you can't help but think someone's lying or they're nuts when they tell you. You just can't help that. Like you just think, oh, I wish I would have been there. I could have told you what it was, or I would have, I could have said, well, well, don't you see that headlight coming from that car over there hitting the tree? Can you, but, I don't know, man. I just, I find it fascinating. It doesn't interfere with my faith, but I do think that there's more unanswered questions than I used to think about stuff. And this goes with all kinds of stuff, from the pyramids to, there's just so much weirdness in the world that when you learn about something that it's like, what is that? How does that even, how does that happen? And I find it exciting in the same way that I found when I became a Christian and I started getting into the whole end times thing, and which is kind of a common thing for new Christians to do, is get real excited about like end time stuff. I don't believe that stuff like I used to, as far as like how things are going to go down, or, but there was a time in my life where I was like, absolutely yes, rapture, absolutely yes, 7 years of great tribulation, and then I was like, please let it be pre-trib rapture. Please let it be that. I don't want to go through hell first.
Yeah.
But my views have changed on stuff like that. But the reason why I brought that up is because the UFO thing and like the pyramids and just all these other things, I find them very exciting and exhilarating the same way I did when I first learned about this other stuff that I had no idea about, So,
well, there's, in fact, I have a friend who's very interested in this, a very good friend, and she has family actually that was involved in certain kind of high profile alien encounters and claims and sites, and there's documentaries about her family and stuff like that. And so, to have these discussions, and it's I've always found it really interesting. And when people, because I know when people bring up pyramids, for example, and they go, well, how do they do this or how do they do that? And they say, well, we wouldn't be able to accomplish this anymore. I know that there are certain skeptics that would say, well, that's kind of ridiculous. And I would remind them that that's the same claim that NASA makes regarding the reasons that we haven't gone back to the moon. Like, to say that we don't have the technology anymore. We did when it looked like, a tin can with some sticks and stuff, but for some reason now we can't. But that's the official explanation for NASA. And so, they say, well, we don't have the technology anymore. We apparently did back then, strangely enough. And so, it's one of those things where apparently that's not as outlandish as it sounds. I will say, though, I know of people, and this isn't to the merit necessarily. It's just to say that it's an argument people make. And when you said that there's the way that you feel about it is similar in a way to the excitement that you had and the fascination you had with end time stuff, even maybe when you first became a Christian. There's an article that I read recently over at Scientific American. I think it's actually an older article, but it's by this guy, and he's talking about the similar things that go on inside the brain of people who believe, for example, in fantastical religious claims, although he would probably say all of them are. I think he's an
Mhm.
atheist. His name's Michael Shermer, so he would say all of that is. But he goes
Mhm.
in to compare those two things and say that they play on the same stuff, and so in his estimation, the increase in interest in aliens is directly connected in the Western mind, at least, with the decrease of interest in religion. So he says that those two things, that one is a replacement of the other because it plays
Mhm.
on the same kind of hopes of cosmic purpose and finding our place. What's our meaning? These deep metaphysical, deep rooted ancient questions that we have, even about our origin, because, I know people who believe in like the seeding idea and stuff, that maybe we're a mix of multiple aliens. And I mean, I've got friends all across the spectrum. And so, I find it fascinating. I'm skeptical, but I'm also one of those guys that says if they come out and if there is verifiable proof and you say, hey, look at this. This is quite obviously alien comes out. Hey, everybody, we're aliens. We're here. I think I would go, okay, that is pretty compelling. But I've also, there's enough there that it makes me wonder. Okay. For one, the documentaries, but my friends, family's documentaries, it's serious business. Other documentaries I've seen, but also the Phoenix Lights, dude. I don't know if you remember the movie. I think it's called Phoenix Lights. It's tons of people in Phoenix. They're looking up and they're seeing these triangles, right, up in the sky. And tons of people reach out. And I think at the time the guy was the mayor, I think he was the mayor of Phoenix, or it was the governor. It was somebody high profile person politically. And they came out, had somebody come out in an alien costume mocking the people who were saying it the next day on a press conference and whatever. Well, that person now believes in it because that person who was a former officer with the Air Force or whatever, a high profile pilot, he reaches out to try to get information, man, and it's like shut down. And he's become kind of a outspoken person about this stuff. So, there's enough of that out there. And that's more than the Yetis and stuff. I've watched all those shows, dude. The people who travel and try to find the Yetis and all that. I've seen that. I don't even put those in the same category. I'm not as big of a believer about the Yetis, although I've seen some stuff with that too. But
I think that a lot of things are interconnected, and that would kind of blow our mind with when we find out. It doesn't really scare me. Like I said, it just fascinates me, and I'm glad I'm not one of these people who let's say that all this alien stuff and stuff. Let's say this abductions and things like that. Let's say that happens. Okay, let's say it really does. I'm so thankful that I'm not one of these people that it happened to, because that would really ruin your life.
yes, dude.
People would just think you're nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
That would suck.
Dude,
it doesn't matter how convincing, and you can't pretend it didn't happen if it happened.
Yeah.
So like this guy, Whitley Strieber, and the guy that him and his buddies, when they were doing they were working on the lumber dudes. What the heck is that dude's name? I'm so bad with this kind of stuff. But him and his buddies went out to the forest. They made a movie, at least one. It was called Fire in the Sky. And this other guy I'm talking about, him and his buddies, they were on a job site, I believe, out in the woods. I think it was California, but I could be wrong. And they saw a ship come down, and dude approached it, and everybody else stayed back, and he got sucked up into the ship. And then when they were done with the job, or when they were coming back to this, like the city or whatever, the dude still hadn't shown up. And so after like nearly a week or whatever, they were starting to, I think they were going to be charged for the murder of this guy. They believed that they murdered him and buried him out in the woods because he was missing. So finally, like a week, I don't know, 10 days later, something like that, the guy shows up naked in a telephone booth on the phone, calling his brother and saying, "Hey, I'm here. I don't know what happened, blah, blah." And then he remembered everything. and he explained what happened. He was abducted and stuff. He was a young guy at the time. This is like, I believe, 1974, and still him and every one of his friends, his coworkers, still stick to that story, and they're really convincing when you listen to them talk about what they saw and about what this guy saw too. It's probably the most popular abduction story out there, and the most credible one too.
The one I was thinking of
we're talking-
is the Flatwood Monster, right? And it's got the Flatwood Monster, talking about seeing UFOs, the family members. It's Eddie May and Freddie May. So it's stories about that. There's a documentary about it. There's a TV series, I guess, that had to do with it. And so, there's videos you can look up. The Flatwood Monster case, Declassified: The True Story of the Flatwoods Monster, Project Blue Book. And so there's different videos people can watch of that. I know one of the relatives. And so I've always found it a fascinating thing, and it doesn't affect me either. Like that wouldn't bother me at all. And I know that some people, well, it would bother me for different reasons, and I would be afraid of, as I said, I believe that if all of a sudden it came out and everybody thought, oh my gosh, there's really aliens for real, and they've been amongst us and they've been doing all of this stuff and everything else, I really do believe we would see massive, like crazy amounts of suicide, violence. I think it's the reason why the government, even if it's true, why the government would fall on the side of stability, and say we can't talk about that, and make it a state secret, to say, look, the stability of a nation, of a people, of a species of people is more important than the knowledge of this. And if the aliens are that, if they're real and they really made it through this radiation belt and light years of travel and everything else to get here, they would know this. They would know that. And so and so I can't even imagine that they would want to be known, large scale. And why they would be interested in human buttholes and stuff, I don't really know. But it's not everybody's probed.
But that's
not everybody's probed.
That's trying to put yourself on theirs. That's like putting your comprehension level and your understanding and your reasoning on the same level as them, and that's just, you can't do that.
For which part? What are you talking about?
If aliens exist, like why you're like, well, I don't understand why they would want to do this, or why they would do this, or because we're not on the same page. You know what I mean? Just like just like with just like if you were to I'll go back in time or something and talk to some dude from 200 BC, he would have any understanding of what your reasoning of doing something, or the science behind something, or he would comprehend anything that you were doing. Like, why are you staring at your phone tapping all day? And just anything, whatever. And,
but that's what I'm saying. If they're at a technological place where they can actually make it light years away, if they can do that, then technologically they would have had to have gone through ridiculous amounts of time, for example, experience, development. The idea, and I am assuming that if they're able to, if they're so technologically advanced that they're that place, then they are well aware of how our species on this planet deals with sudden revelations that everything we've ever thought and all the meaning that we've had may be false. Mm-hmm. Because that's how it would be pitched. I mean, people, it may not affect you. You may say, well, I wouldn't mess with my faith. Maybe not. I mean, in some ways, you're already asking questions that are different than you used to. And so your faith has already shifted a little bit, because the questions would come up. Was Jesus an alien, for example? Okay. Did he come from another planet?
I'm talking, right.
Yeah.
When I say my faith, I'm speaking like the root of my faith. I'm not talking about every tiny aspect in the Bible that that doesn't make me question certain things, as far as like Adam and Eve, and them being solely the only living being created. But yeah, so when I say it hasn't affected my faith, I mean the fact that I believe in God,
Yeah.
and that the fact that in Christ. But I don't know, man.
But what if the
I
aliens
think it's
came and said that they were atheists and that we're all stupid for believing in God? Like, we would see massive amounts of people becoming. And here's the thing: a friend of mine, same friend, was saying that that would wipe out a lot of religions. It would, but religion wouldn't go away. I know some people would say, "Well, religion's kind of going away," and I said, "Dude, there would be the biggest UFO cult in the universe. People would worship them."
Mm-hmm.
They would say your abilities are so far beyond ours. It's like magic, dude. It would be magic.
I think there would be a lot of more intelligent people that would be not so quick to do that and recognize that, like, that would be something like when you see those movies or every movie that has like time travel in it has some kind of or episode of Star Trek when they go into a certain time and the dude shows up, pulls out a lighter, and then everyone bows down and starts worshiping him. There's something very primitive about that. And so I think some of the more intelligent people would recognize that and go, well, I'm not doing that, just because they are more technologically. Oh my gosh, dude. Technologically. I'm not going to stop until I say that word.
Technologically. Yeah.
Technologically. Okay. Yeah. Advanced. And that they would just, be, they would feel like, do you know what I'm saying, man?
Well, honestly, yes, but I think you got it backwards.
It's like the episode of whatever show or movie where the dude goes back in time and he's got something as simple as a flashlight or something like that, and everyone's like ooga booga, and they bow down and they start worshiping the person, and we're like, what are you doing? Well, you just guys don't have a clue about this stuff yet. That to me,
I think that I agree with you, but my framing of it would be that it would be the uneducated people that would say, I'm not bowing down to you, because they would say, I'm bowing down to one Lord. Because by and large, I think that the more intelligent people, I think that it would be a messianic thing. I think they want that. I think there's a lot of very intelligent people.
Why would you worship something based on their technological advancement?
Because it would be so advanced, it's literally otherworldly. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, people, we frame it, so much of our conversation is framed within like seeing movies about it, Star Trek or other things. Well, that gives us like a imaginary framework for what we think is possible. It doesn't explain how to go light years away without dying, because we don't know how. And so if they're at that place, and that's assuming, like, what would they look like? What if they were tall? What if they were short? What if they didn't look human? What if there were all these things? And I think that people who are like really gung-ho about it, I think they don't even understand human instinct, and that there really is something primitive. You said it's primitive, and I say yes. We all have a lizard brain, right? We're all still great apes, man. Like, we're still the things that we do, right? We are Monkey Town Central over here. And so we do very primitive things, and we put drapings on it to make us look smarter. But a lot of the junk we do is just Monkey Town nonsense. So I say, if aliens showed up, I think that the people that would take a stand and say, I'm not going to worship it. And I don't mean worship in the sense that everybody's doing mantras and everything, but that their allegiance is completely beholden. Because, for one, if might is right to a lot of these people, and if authority and power is who has that, right, states would basically cease to exist. They could come in and wipe us out. I mean, there's no doubt, if they can travel light years, they could literally annihilate us like we're flies. I mean, it's so dramatic, that ability, that their skills for weaponry would be just compared to us. We would.
What if they're not? What if their skills are based on travel?
But it doesn't happen by itself. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the way technology develops, like, even take the iPhone. Like, Steve Jobs, when he talked about it, he said it's the best iPod we've ever made. You can make calls and listen to music. And he didn't even talk about the internet for 30 minutes because it was outside of the social imaginary at the time but that to get to where we are with a smartphone required a whole host of other technologies that come together, kind of like when we were talking off air, we were talking about Black Mirror. And I was saying, I believe a lot of the stuff in Black Mirror because we have technology to help people see again, for example. We have the ability, we have social, what is it, man? Social credit systems in China. And I contend Facebook and other things are examples of this. We have social media. We have instant replay. We have storage devices in, major time storage that we can do. So if you see all of those different things and you go, right now we're in the brain, like Steve Jobs, it's the best iPod. And forward-thinking people say all of these technologies that are different come together to create what we later would call things like smartphone, or what Black Mirror would be the little grain inside the ear that can replay all that. I say the same exact thing is true regarding the technologies that develop and would be required to travel. And I'd say the same is true
I understand
with aliens.
that, but I don't think that, again, that's to say, well, if they can travel, then they can do everything we can do, but better. And I don't believe that. I don't think that I think that let's say the Greys, as they're called, these buggy-eyed dudes with the teardrop eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
And, their makeup in itself, and hypothetically speaking, if these are what exist and these are the things that can travel and that do visit, they have different makeups, different emotional, and different reasoning. And some of the stuff I'm getting from the book, like, as terrifying as this experience was for this guy, he did get the sense often that they were terrified at what they were doing at that time. And he also wondered if this was a hive, that what was visiting was a collective mind and not individual beings, but these were like almost like that there was a hive mind, and that these are theories because if something like this happens, all you've got is time to try and think,
what the heck happened?
What the heck happened? And, so, he was questioning whether these were, and that's also based on some of their actions and stuff. And, which I found really interesting, but I just don't think that you can take if that were to exist and put it on the same level as we are in every area. And not to say that most, like if they're like, oh, you guys got 3D printers. Yeah, that's nothing. Yeah. I'm not saying that they can't. I just don't think that.
What would they be interested in? Like what? And let me ask this. When we go to the tribes, like I love the video. There was somebody who died, a guy on a boat, and he tried to go to this island or whatever. And the tribes people came up and they had arrows and spears and stuff. And they were dancing and smacking the ground and doing all the gesturing and posturing and stuff. And he's dead, right? Or the person, it was a white dude that shows up in the jungle of this group, and he's got a mirror, and they see a mirror, and dude, they are freaked out. They don't know bowls, for example, tents, the way that the material that we've got. And they've never seen, for example, a submarine with nuclear weapons on it. Like, so they're sticks, like literally it's sticks and stones. And so that's, in my opinion, the closest analogy we have, because we're able to traverse the ocean.
Right. But you're talking about another human being.
Yeah. I'm talking about just a being that we can travel.
That bleeds red and has eyes and brain that work. They might have different morals or whatever, and stuff like that. Spirituality and obviously culture, completely different culture. But I'm talking about something that just has a completely different makeup.
Yeah, maybe. I'm open to it, man. You know, I kind of think that's the way it would turn out, but I'm open, and I would be interested in reading that book, and seeing because look, I haven't had the time or experience to actually be thinking about it, for no better choice of terms, and not meaning to be rude to the guy, or his claims, but to be as obsessive in my thought about it, as consumed, not obsessive, consumed. Because if that did happen to you, or something crazy, that's the best framework you have for what happened and who would do that and how it worked out, the kind of thoughts that would go through your mind for the rest of your life. And so he sounds like a smart guy, and he sounds like he's somebody who's, he's able to conceptualize abstract ideas and say, like, well, what if it was this or what if it was that, and playing it all out and realizing that he doesn't have an answer for it, but these are a lot of what ifs. And, I think even just broadening of the mind is a good thing on it. And so, but that's my take, man. That's
people listening might think that, I'm playing devil's advocate, really. It's an interest that I have. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm trying to pose, I get not even arguments, just things to look at. But I mean, I'm not convinced, but I think I might be more convinced than you.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm the guy that is saying the very critical things, but at the same time, I'm saying, hey, it's a possibility that we have a superior creature in our midst that's really messing with our junk at this point. I think there's enough out there that it's made me wonder. As I said, I mean, I've got friends that talk to me about it. Intelligent people that when we talk about other topics, highly educated, we're talking master's degree, doctorate level people, who are critical on a lot of other things, but on this, something happened, right? Or a family member, something happened to their family, and not just one, but to a family, like, and to hear that. And I know people can say, there's a lot of claims that people make and families and stuff, but
this is a family too. I mean, the guy in this, it ultimately happened to him, but he had a couple over staying the first night that crap went down that he could remember. And then he ended up trying to figure out what just happened, and then finding out that this isn't the first time this has happened, but that kind of like the main thing there, the catalyst for finding out everything else. He had a couple staying over with him, and then his wife experienced some strange stuff, and as well as his young son. So it was, but he was the one that was like, so when you have something like that, it is interesting when other people are involved, and they're like, I was just reading a section in here where the woman, he's kept it a secret from his son. He's listened to some things that his son said, like, last night the doctors took me outside and were working on me. And this was, he's like, what? But he's kept everything that he has experienced, the doctors that he's seeing, and he also avoided reading anything, because he didn't, before the hypnosis stuff, because he didn't want to be tainted by anything. He didn't used to read about it, had no interest, didn't believe it anyway. This happened, so he was very careful about his whole approach, because he wanted to get to the bottom of it. Ultimately, is this real, or am I going crazy? What is happening to me? And so his and then the part I'm in right now with his wife being hypnotized, and she didn't experience this stuff.
So like they went under hypnosis.
Yeah, she went out under hypnosis, and it was weird to hear them talking about, it was hard for them to comprehend certain things that they smelled, or that they, how they felt, what they saw, like maybe something an alien was wearing, or even a light source. And she didn't see the things that the guy said. And again, these doctors were not leading her in their questioning, making any kind of
like planting ideas.
Yeah, they weren't doing anything like that. So, but she felt like under and these are all transcribed verbatim, these sessions. And she felt like she just kept talking about how there was so much going on at the house. And this was in the middle of the night. They'd have been sleeping. It's just the house is too busy. There's too many people here. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, I don't know. I get and then the son has nightmares sometimes, but this particular night he had one that was like, he was screaming like bloody murder, and it freaked her out. And they said, well, did you go to him? And she said, no, Whitley did. And so, why didn't you go? And she said, I wasn't supposed to. And they're like, and I felt bad. I don't want to be a bad mom, but I wasn't supposed to go. And then she complained about Whitley being gone for so long, and how, going on about how but she was just like, she wasn't supposed to go. She wasn't supposed to be a part of what was going on. It was weird. And she knew a little bit about what he was going through, but not all of the details. And so,
what do you think, though? What do you think about the hypnosis angle, man? Like,
I don't know enough about it. I can see. I do believe that there are people who have given some really bad false information with
like satanic panic,
in terms of he killed me, or he killed my aunt, or I saw that, or accusing people under the influence of hypnosis of something and being completely wrong about it. I think that happens. Well, I know it. I know it happens.
We talked about it in the satanic panic episode, because that was one of the things. Is a lot of the people, if I remember right, a lot of the claims about the satanic panic were claims that were made under hypnosis. Not all of them, but there was a number of them, and that played a role in it. It was one of the evidences that were used.
I personally don't think I can be hypnotized.
Yeah, I think that's true. There's a lot of people. Yeah,
I just don't, and it's not anything like. I just know how my mind works, and I just don't think it would work for me. I really, really don't. I would like to. There was a point where I wanted to, but then I also feared the idea that a suggestion would traumatize me somehow, and I wouldn't be able to get it out of my head, kind of thing.
The kind of manipulation, the kind of implanted ideas and stuff.
Horror movie, like if I ever got hypnotized, I would want to make sure that, first of all, somebody like Mary or something was there at all times, not being hypnotized,
right? And
so could kind of oversee everything and make sure that I don't want to get some quack in there going, every time you fart, you shall also have an orgasm or something. I don't.
Yeah, dude. Oh, hey, man. I mean, come on.
Actually,
would you really turn that down?
Yeah. Honey, if we got to stack up
so bad, Chad. Dude, we'd be eating food that makes us fart on purpose, dude. I'm lactose intolerant, but I'd be guzzling milk.
Yeah. Stock up on the beans, man. Yeah, it would be so. It's a bad idea, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I like to be in control, and I just don't know. I just don't. I mean, I know hypnosis works. I don't know to what extent. I don't know how much of this hypnosis you see, like the jokester hypnosis that you see, where
the cock-a-doodle-doo people on the stage.
I don't know how much how real that kind of crap is, but
I don't know, man. Suggestion is a powerful drug, dude.
Yeah,
suggestion is a powerful drug. I mean, I think that's a lot to explain. Not the entirety of it. I believe in spiritual realities and stuff, even demonic realities and things like that. But things like the mass hysteria at certain revivals, for example, that you can be a conjurer of spirits that aren't even spiritual. You can be, I think there's probably some wicked junk in there, but at the same time, I think that just the mere suggestion, the power of even, it's hypnosis, but it has to do with the speaking and the cadence that you have. People, in fact, accuse Donald Trump of that. Hitler, right? Other people that had a certain cadence and timing of what they were doing, and that it was a kind of hypnosis through the way that they we're conversant. You know, and so I don't know. To me, it's a fascinating subject, but I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel the same way a little bit about aliens. You know, like I'm fascinated by the idea. I've seen more about aliens than I have about some other conspiracy things, and I lump in with aliens, dude. I lump in their stuff to do with like Nibiru. You know, because I've studied stuff to do with Nibiru, for example. Like I followed for a little while the Nibiru community, the plasma planet that's being hidden right now behind huge mirrors. And stuff and they have little experiments and stuff that show how you would do it, you know, and they say, well, yeah, here's mirrors that are copyrighted mirrors, massive mirrors that, you know, could go into outer space or whatever. And so, you know, but that's still part of that community of people, you know, they believe those are aliens on that planet, right? That ain't a good thing when they roll around, you know, so whenever that happens, but you know, I've watched stuff about it. But at the same time, I don't think that I have I don't think I have enough to have like a super solid opinion other than what it would be like if they were real, that I at least have my reasons for why I think that. I could be wrong, but at least I have a sufficient number of ideas and facts and things to play off of to say, well, this is what I would anticipate happening. But as I said, to the credit of other people, and I don't believe that it's like I have friends who are like, well, they're just demons. I don't believe that. Like, so I don't believe that, like, you know, the idea of aliens, they're just demons.
Yeah,
out there,
no, I don't
you know, and so I don't buy that. And so I don't know. I find it fascinating. And I think that book would be an interesting book to read, even if only as something, as an exercise, like Alan Watts. Have you ever heard Alan Watts? He does like speeches like that. So like speeches that he's kind of off the wall, like maybe he did a lot of LSD. I don't know, maybe he did. I don't know enough about him as a person, but I've listened to some of these lectures and stuff that people have sent and said, dude, this is really mind-opening. And it is. He says some off-the-wall junk, but in the end, dude, it's like one of those exercises of the mind that really make you go, you know, like, what's up with that? You know, and so I don't know if I said he seems like somebody who did LSD and they're like, oh, he was 24/7. I wouldn't be surprised. He kind of comes off that way, but
well, cool. I had a feeling that if I brought that book up, that this might happen.
Sly Dog,
and I'm okay with that. I would love to get well, it's not something I did on purpose. It's just that we have good discussion in it. I think a lot of people find interest in that sort of thing too, UFOs and aliens and whatnot, whether they believe in it or not. And I would love to get somebody on here that knows what they're talking about at one point and have a discussion or something. I think it would be kind of neat. I know Jack and Hunter had a guy on Monster Man who wrote a book, and pretty nice dude. Maybe he would be up for hanging out.
Although this was fun, man. This was a fun time, dude. And you did a really good job. You did a good job bringing that up, man. You knew it would rock. And I hope that people enjoy it, man. I hope that people just enjoy the fact that we're back.
I hope so too, man. I hope
we're back, Chad. Yeah.
I hope we have I mean, I know our audience is small, but I mean, I hope people are listening.
Yeah. Well, we know that someone is listening. We know that, like, maybe the visitors, they're like, they're catching on the communication, like, oh, PaleoCheeze is talking about it. I wonder what they're going to say. They're going to probe our show, Chad. They're going to bend our show over in the fetal position and Dr. Wang that thing. Like, this was going to happen, Chad.
I'm not going to worship him. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Yeah. So are you ready to watch VelociPastor?
I've been ready my whole life, Chad.
All right. I might, as we're watching it, I might change clothes. And you might too.
Yeah. Lighting might be different. Hair, everything.
Lighting might be different. My hair. I might have a hat on. Who knows? But
you're looking so stylish right now, dude.
Me?
Yes. Is that just a button-down shirt? What is that? Because for some reason, I don't know if it's you got, kind of square shoulders and stuff. No, it's a jacket. I knew it, dude. Yeah, I knew it. Look at you, man.
Yeah, it's a satin jacket, dude. My hair's kind of in the way, but
you're taking it to another level, Chad. Look at you, man. Is that
I
like
got
is that paisley? What kind of design is that?
The jacket itself, it is paisley.
Dude, is it snakeskin?
No,
What is that?
No.
What material? Just
it's like satin, polyester
bro.
or something. Satin, I think. And I'm representing my Horde brethren. If anybody knows what that is. For the Horde.
Bro, you're like at another level,
World of
bro.
Warcraft.
You're at another level, man. People need to go back and they need to watch the original episodes, man, and see how Chad was dressed back then and see you've
still dressed like that.
You're right, man. You're right, dude. You're all snazzy now. Looking all dapper and such.
I still dress with my normal
long
long sleeve with my concert shirt over it or whatever.
Yeah, but you're wearing suit coats. I've seen you wearing some button-up shirts that look like nice and stuff, and you got some suit coats on, looking real professional and stuff, dude. You're looking sharp, you know. I don't know what's going on with you.
I got some nice clothes. I like to wear, I have been wearing more of that lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks sharp, dude. Looks good, man.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, looking fancy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to up my game, dude. Start wearing a freaking tuxedo, dude.
Corduroy tweed jacket with the suede elbows.
I have one of those, but it's like the coat itself is too long. Yeah, you can tell it's made for a guy who's taller.
The professor's jacket.
It is, dude. It looks awesome, but you know, maybe I'll wear it sometime because in these shows you can only see from like the chest up, man.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter. I could, like right now, dude, I'm wearing, one of those mankinis. Nobody knows it, but
Well, you showed it to me earlier.
Yeah, I showed it to you.
You wear those, you're gonna end up being able to see Dr. Wang again, boy.
Oh no. Never, dude. I'm never gonna see Dr. Wang again. Oh, that was the worst, bro. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna curl up in a fetal position and cry when this is over, just for reliving the memories, dude. They're deep. It's deep. It's wicked bad.
Traumatizing.
It is. It's traumatizing. So how can people get in touch with us, man, while we're getting ready? So they can do this while we're getting ready. They can go and they can check out ways that they can connect with the show.
Who cares? Why bother? They're not gonna.
Yeah. Screw all you people. Look at what you've done to Chad.
Oh man, if they want, I mean, yeah, if we could get one email that says "I hate your show," that'd be awesome. If they want to get a hold of us that bad, you can. I guess you can Google us. If you're listening now, you know how to spell our name.
Just look us up.
Yeah, just look us up. We've got an email at Gmail. We got a Twitter account, Facebook, Instagram.
Or there.
It's all spelled the same. Do it or don't.
Oh, yeah, man. All right, now we're gonna get a whole bunch of them, and they're all gonna be like, "I hate you." I'd be like, "Dude, Chad, why?" I would still feel like okay. I'd be like, "Dude, I'd feel special." I'd probably even respond to him and be like, "Thank you so much for that feedback. Like, we really appreciate it more than you know."
I am actually doing a Q&A, or not a Q&A. It's like an AMA thing.
Yeah.
And I gotta start filming the videos. I'm doing like a question at a time thing. So if anyone outside of the podcast, if anybody wants to do an AMA thing, or ask me a question or something like that, I'm doing that. And
now, do you select them?
I'll just whatever. I'll just answer whatever. Well, I mean, yeah, obviously, if somebody sends something that's like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Like, what stories are true inside of Skullface Boy?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it doesn't have to. I mean, it doesn't necessarily.
Oh, dude, I'm asking it. Yeah, I wanted to know.
It doesn't necessarily have to pertain to a book or just whatever. If someone has any type of interest, I have a couple things. Like somebody asked me about my favorite board games because they know that I'm a big board gamer. I've been asked like what else I'd like to do besides writing. Do Is it draining to write such emotional stuff? Things like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, dude, get dressed, get ready,
Yes.
because it's time for Velociraptor.
Let's do this.
Woo! Yeah.